Welcome to A Better Divorce podcast, where we have conversations about the emotional, financial, and legal issues that are on your mind or should be on your radar if your goal is to keep your divorce out of court. I'm collaborative divorce attorney and mediator Andrea Vacca, and I know that how you divorce matters to your long-term well-being. That's why it's my mission to help you have a better divorce with as little acrimony as possible, so that you can create the best life possible on the other side of your marriage. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Andrea Vacca, and I'm happy to welcome Mara Bernstein to the podcast today.
Good morning.
Hi, Mara. So Mara's a divorce and family law attorney, and she and I share a very similar story. After years of witnessing the emotional and financial devastation of litigation on our divorcing clients, Mara, like myself, now provides her clients with private, productive, and efficient out-of-court processes and alternatives to the expensive and prolonged litigation battles that we've both been part of. So, Mara, your practice is in Palm Beach County, and I know you work throughout the state in Florida, but also in New York. You're still licensed in New York. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we both know how you divorce matters and how you start your divorce matters. So, and we both provide pre-divorce planning services. I call it pre-divorce guidance. You call it pre-divorce planning, I believe.
Yes.
So that's why I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Not all attorneys do this, but we know that at the earliest stages of the divorce process is really how you set yourself up for success. So I'm looking forward to talking about what people need to know before they start the process. So what has been your experience and lessons that you've learned from working with divorcing clients at this early stage before maybe they even know if they want a divorce or how they will divorce? What have you learned that you can share with us?
Yeah. Well, as you know, it's such an overwhelming process. Everything that you know to be true to you is completely in disarray when you think about divorce. Your finances, your hopes and dreams for the future, your children, where you're going to live. It's extremely overwhelming. So, and also, do I really want to get divorced? What is it going to look like? So when we talk about pre-divorce planning or consulting, we really talk about what's entailed and what are the resources that we could access in order to help someone make a decision. So I listened to one of your podcasts, which was excellent, with a therapist who was a discernment counselor. And I love that. So whether it's discernment counseling, which is should I stay or should I go? Whether it is individual counseling or couples counseling, I think that's really the first step because divorce is not something that anyone should take lightly. And, we always encourage our clients to really, really sit back and say, can we really make this work? And once you make the decision that it's really not going to work, then what do? You go see an attorney who could help you with the legal aspects, tell you what your rights and responsibilities are. But as you know, there's so much more to divorce than that.
Yeah, there is.
Yep.
Yeah, the discernment counseling is so important because even if people have been in couples therapy and they've been through often we hear they've had different therapists over the years, some for very short periods of time. One spouse regularly fired the therapist and didn't want to be, and then they would try again. But the discernment counseling is so short-lived, and it's worth a shot, one more shot to see if they can get on the same page. So if
Yeah.
somebody's still not sure, I think it's a great process to undertake, just to know for sure. So once you're sure, though, there are the legal issues, the financial issues, the emotional issues. So I was looking at your blog, and I know you have an article on this too about what you should. I don't think it was called this, but like what you should start and stop doing before when you know you want a divorce. Like what next? So
Right.
do you want to talk a little bit about those
I think
early?
we had this conversation. The line is what you need to know to go.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there are a lot of things that need to be done, but we don't want to overwhelm our clients. So it's really first things first. And I think the first order of business is really financial. You know, are you acquainted with your finances? You know, were you the bill payer? Were you the person who spoke to your investment advisor? You know, by and large, there's always one person in the couple who does that. And
Mhm.
there's, you know, I meet so many people who are like, I can't believe I didn't do that. I didn't know. But, you know, that person might have been really busy raising kids or supporting an ill spouse. So, you know, there's no shame in that. Now's the time to really learn about that. So, what do you need to do? I mean, you really need to make sure that you have access to checking accounts and savings accounts and investment accounts and life insurance policies and credit cards and all those things. And you know what? It's really good to be a snoop. Um, it just
Yeah.
really is. As much as you could get, as much information as you could get, it's really, really important to do that. So I think that's really the first step, even before you speak to an attorney, because once you go speak to the attorney, you could set that attorney up to have a really good, a more robust conversation with you in terms of this is what we have, this is what we owe, this is what we own. These are my concerns. This is my income. This is my spouse's income. So I think that's really important to really understand where you are financially.
Yes. I love being a snoop too, because it could mean it doesn't have to be anything underhanded. It could be just looking on your spouse's desk, seeing what mail is coming in for them, not opening the mail perhaps, but seeing what financial
Identifying and making
ident
a list.
yes, she
You know,
gets statements from this company and that company and just start gathering that kind of information, even if you don't know exactly what's in that envelope. So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. It's really, really important to do that.
It is, and so, looking at your tax returns, it's just some basic information just to start thinking it through. What do you own? What do you owe? What are you earning? These are just
Yes.
some very basic things that you have access to, and you should be able to get a general picture of, even if you don't have
And
all the
it's such a
details.
wonderful thing for someone who never really understood that to really be able to learn about it. This is you're entering into your next chapter, and it's really important to be an active participant because your lawyer is going to help you get divorced, but your lawyer is not going to help you set up your financial future. And you have to really play a role in it. And that's what we talked about before about creating a team of people to really help you do that.
Yeah, and being an active participant is is very to know whether you wanna be an active participant or not.
Yes.
We both see the benefits of that, and we'll talk about that, but let's talk about the 2 different generally the 2 different types of lawyers that you can expect to find in that regard.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why don't you say
So,
something about that?
yeah, so I think that you and I were different lawyers in the beginning of our careers. You know, when I started practicing 3 decades ago, you know, there wasn't really that much in the way of alternative dispute resolution, mediation, collaborative. You know, we did it one way. We filed a petition, we were litigation attorneys, and we didn't really think about having a comprehensive process for our clients. You know, we argued their cases, we got them divorced, we got them the best settlement that we believed was possible, and then we sent them on their way. Well, what happens? So now our practices, I know that our practices are very similar. We work with a team of professionals to really understand what our clients' goals and objectives are, what their interests are, and what their needs are. So, you know, we talked about the divorce being in the center and all these spokes coming out of it. And really, the law is only one aspect of it. So there's a financial aspect, there's an emotional aspect, there's a kid aspect, there's a vocational aspect, you know, where people are going to live. So we could be of great benefit to our clients by really helping them um, set them up for success for their future.
Yeah, that traditional way of being a divorce lawyer was very much I liken it to, like, I'm the leader, get behind me, I'll lead
Right.
the way.
I'm gonna tell
Charge.
you what to do, and you need to listen. Listen, there are still lawyers like that, and sometimes it's really necessary. Litigation is mandatory where there's abuse, emotional, financial, physical, where there's a lack of transparency, someone is not coming forward, they're not being honest. I mean, those are the kind of cases, but by and large, most cases do not need to be resolved in that way.
So having an attorney, if you don't need the knight in shining armor lawyer because you don't have that kind of extreme situation, partnering with your lawyer who kind of is by your side, right? You're by your side. You're not leading the charge. We're partnering with you. We're right there with you.
I
We'll
love that,
help,
Andrea.
right?
Love that. Yep.
Yeah. And it feels better personally for me. I like to be, I don't want you to think I am ahead of you here. Like, I will guide you. I will help you find the right attorney. I mean, if it's another attorney, the right financial professional, the right coach or therapist, whatever it is. So let's talk about the benefits of finding that if a partner type of
Mhm.
lawyer relationship is right for you, at this early stage, how do you know? And what are the benefits of that?
Yeah. So I want to have a caveat for that,
Mhm.
because that in our role as partner, and facilitator, and maybe the person who sort of coordinates what it's going to look like, that's not exclusive of being an advocate. We're still advocates.
Right.
We're still lawyers. We still talk to our clients about, what are the different options. We're still really on their side. So, and then the other thing is that people think that, if they do this route, that it's amicable. I don't know what the word amicable means. Do you? I don't know. Most people say, "Oh, you do amicable divorce." Well, the people are getting divorced for a reason, and it's never really amicable. If it's really amicable, then they could do it themselves. They
Yes.
need help. And most
I
people,
I say non-adversarial.
yeah,
That's what I aim for.
I love that. That's what it is. It's non-adversarial. I always say that we're not shit stirrers. That's what we used to do when we were litigators. We're problem solvers.
Yes, that's it.
And
We're
someone
not
said
stirring the
something.
pot. We're
Yes,
not.
we're not stirring the pot. And someone said, there was a line, I don't know whose quote this is. Why cut the tie when you could just untie it? Why cut it when you could untie it?
Yes.
So that's really what we do, and it's just a really different way of thinking. And we went off course. The question was,
Well, why would somebody want to find that part more, partnering with their lawyer, finding an advocate that is going to be non-adversarial? Um, what do they need to know about themselves, or how do they know if that's the right message, the right attorney for them?
yeah. That's a really good question. I think there are so many factors involved. I think it's really important to look at your soon to be ex. Is there a power imbalance? Um, but that's in terms of mediation when you don't have a lawyer. We're acting as lawyers. So when we do these kind of processes, we're doing it out of court. So we don't have a judge directing what we're going to do or what this other person needs to do. There are no orders. There's no contempt. So this is a process that really is great for people who want to keep it out of the court system because they don't want a judge who knows nothing about them or their kids, who only sees a little snapshot making decisions on their behalf. That's number one. Number two, Florida is a little bit different than New York because everything that happens in a divorce case in Florida is public record. Okay. So someone gets divorced in Florida, you could go into the record, you could go into the docket and know where the children went to school, go to school, what each party earns, what their assets are, what their liabilities are. So for Florida residents, not so much for New York, it's a privacy issue. So it's private. At the very end of the case, that's when we file and we keep the information very, very minimal.
Mhm.
The other thing is, you want to have control over the divorce. You want to have control over the decisions that are made in a divorce. You don't have that control when you go to court. You lose all control. And the outcome is really similar to going to Las Vegas. It's a crapshoot.
Yes. Hey, listeners, it's Andrea Vacca here, your host of a Better Divorce podcast. If you're looking for ways to navigate your divorce with less conflict and more cooperation, my free ebook, Divorce Without Court, A More Peaceful Solution, can help you do just that. Divorce Without Court shows you how to reach an agreement without court involvement, from understanding mediation and collaborative divorce to learning how to keep your divorce under your control. This book covers it all. You'll even find practical checklists and first steps to help you move forward and guide you through the process. With over 3 decades of experience in family law, I've helped countless couples and families achieve peaceful solutions. Divorce Without Court puts that knowledge in your hands. Whether you're just starting to think about ending your marriage or if you're already in the process, this free ebook will help you have a better divorce. Why wait? Click the link in the episode description to download Divorce Without Court, A More Peaceful Solution. Take control of your future and move forward in your divorce with confidence and composure. So, I think when clients are deciding, I want that non-adversarial divorce, they're going to be setting themselves up for just a better outcome. Their life will be a little better. They won't have cut that cord with their spouse. They will have untied it in a way
Yeah.
that's, they can still have a relationship if they want or need it because they have children. They're not running back to court over and over, fighting over this
Yeah.
agreement that they
There's so
slapped
many
together.
reasons.
What was
Yeah.
that?
There are so many reasons. We could go on and on,
Oh
can't
my
we?
God.
Yeah.
So many. So I love the pre-divorce guidance part of the job here and the clients who come at that early stage because we're just helping them look to what they want. So any suggestions on how to help clients or anyone listening to this start thinking about what they want their future to look like, how to create that new life. I know we're not therapists or coaches, but we've
Yeah.
helped a lot of clients at this stage. How do
But
you
we've
do
done
it as a
this so
lawyer?
many times. We've done this so many times. We break it down. We break it down for them in terms of, what are the areas of their life that need to be decided, and what are the areas of their lives that need change or revision. So, for instance, we have someone who comes to us who hasn't worked for many years. What does that person need to do? Get curious about the kind of things that he or she would like to be doing. Maybe speak to a vocational advisor. Maybe start slowly and go back to school. I mean, the fact is that so many people come to see me for this pre-divorce advising, and I might not see them for a year or 2 or 3. It's a big move to do that. And in order to set yourself up for success, you really have to go through these motions of really bolstering yourself up to go through the divorce. Get your financials in order, maybe retrain. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to get alimony. Like, why do I have to? What do I like? Why would I have to? My husband or wife is going to support me. Well, I don't encourage that at all.
Me neither.
I tell people that, yes, that's the best case scenario, but what happens if your soon to be ex gets sick, goes rogue, um, loses his or her job? Who knows what could happen? So the best bet is always to bet on yourself. So I think that's really, really important. Also thinking about what stage your kids are at. Is this the right time to do it for them? Are they going through anything in particular that this might not be the right time to have another change in their lives? And that's really where maybe a developmental psychologist or a parenting coordinator or a parenting specialist might come into play. So I think that we can be a great resource because we're so involved in the community, in the kind of divorce that we do. We bring in so many different people. A real estate person, what is the market going to look like? A mortgage broker, am I going to be able to get a mortgage? What is the
Exactly.
rate? How long will it take me? There's so many things that go into it.
Right. There's this, you can just jump and pray and hope, just jump off the ledge and Hopefully you'll land
Unfortunately, too
safely.
many people do that. They think that their lawyer is gonna get them the results, and it's all that's a movie. That is a movie. Isn't it a movie? Yeah,
It is
and not a
it's a
good one.
movie. Yeah. It's very unrealistic. Being more prepared, thinking about your concerns, thinking about what has stopped you before because of all the things, the gaps in your knowledge, the gaps in your training, the gap, not knowing where your kids are, whatever it is, that you just need a little more, maybe just a little more information or a little more time or something that you need to get to the next stage. Let your attorney, usually us, we're there at the first steps of this, and we can help guide you to the right person. I think with the kids though, there's I do hear a lot of your parents need to be concerned like, "Oh, my child's just going to start or stop or something is happening in their life. Something big is coming up." But but there's always something
Always
else.
something, always something,
Your
always
children are growing. So maybe it's getting them into the to that middle school that you've been waiting for or the high school or the bat mitzvah or whatever it is.
something.
But you have to you can't keep using that as an excuse because your kids are probably suffering if you're that unhappy.
Exactly, and
So
kids are
there's
resilient, and you have to be at your best. They take our lead from us. They really, really do. In hearing you and hearing myself speak about it, it's like it's an intentional divorce. That's really what it is. Have an intentional divorce. Think about, what it is that you want your life to look like. Be curious about it. Write it down. Talk to as many people as possible about, what it could look like for you. Because now is your chance. You could use your divorce as an opportunity. And, I just want to say that it's such an overwhelming process, and you don't have to do it perfectly. That's what we're here for.
yeah,
We're here to really support you during this time. And when I say we, because I know that you and I practice very similarly, so I could speak to you like I'm speaking to myself.
yeah.
Um, but that's what we're there for. Maybe not as a therapist, but as a resource and as a guide.
As a sounding board so that we can help you figure out who else to bring in, who else you should talk to get that support. And it may not be perfect. But all you can do is try to set yourself up the best that you can at this moment. It so that you're more prepared. I always say, like, you're standing in just a stronger base. You have a stronger base underneath you to say to your spouse, "I want a divorce." To
Yes.
have the conversation with your children. You have more information that we it looks like we might be selling the home, or it looks like one of us may be staying. We don't know for sure yet, but how to have that conversation, whatever it may be. You don't have to have all the answers, but if you can have some of those answers and know that you can see the track that you're heading down, then that's probably good enough. But staying
Yeah.
in this stuck place, that's why the discernment therapy is so important to get you out of that. I don't know if I should stay or go. Having those lawyer conversations, having the vocational advisor. Can I get a new job? Do I want to start a new career? How do I get back in the workforce? What
How much
additional
is it gonna
training?
cost me? If you don't have that information, we can't do our jobs appropriately, right? So, if you have to be retooled for some reason, you need to go back to school, you need to, get another degree, whatever it is, we need to know that. We need to know how much is it gonna cost, how long is it gonna take to help you potentially with support options.
And how
Uh,
much can you expect to earn? I don't know about you, but I have a lot of female clients that are very drawn to social work. They might have come out of HR or finance, but then they took time off to be with their children, and somehow social work is calling them. Not a high paying job.
yeah,
They had very high lifestyles. Their husbands were making a lot of money in these heterosexual relationships, but now they want to become social workers. Okay, what are you going to earn? So how long will that training take? Whatever it is that you're going to do. So that we can negotiate your spousal support needs based on your expected income, which at least we have that rather than I don't know what I want to do next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the word empower is thrown around a lot, but we really do empower our clients through this process. Our goal is to bring them to a better place than they were when they came to see us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and set them up for a life that's happier and calmer and
Mhm.
more fulfilling than where they are now. And then hopefully we don't see them again or we don't hear from them again except to check in and see how they're doing, but they're
Well,
great.
Andrea, is it not true that in the type of divorce we do, whether it's collaborative, whether it's pre-suit negotiation, cooperative, mediation with a forensic or a parenting specialist, I will say that I have had in the past year no post judgment cases. People don't come back to me and say, he's not doing this, she's not doing this. I mean, maybe a little here and there, but really, people are not going to court after we have our do our processes because they're engaged in it because
Yeah,
they have made the decisions. It wasn't imposed on them.
exactly. I agree. I do not have clients calling me saying we need a judge or he's not doing something. Sometimes they'll come back because things have changed. Somebody lost a
Yes,
job. We need
yes,
to talk about whether the support number is still right. Can we still do it? But they come preemptively before somebody stops paying. They know that we put a process in place that if these things happen, you'll come back and we'll talk. So they don't get to that point where somebody's in violation of that agreement they worked so hard and spent good money on.
yep,
So
yep.
they we've taught them a little bit about how to have these conversations, and I had a client, I think I mentioned this on another podcast, but a short time ago, I had a client I reached out to a year into his divorce. He had been divorced a year, and he said, "Some things came up in our agreement. Sometimes she's not responding the way she should, but our agreement tells us exactly what to do. When she doesn't respond, I can make that decision because we put a decision-making process in place.
Yeah.
We put how much time somebody had to get back before the other person can make that decision. So it made me feel so happy that this was working. All that time and energy we put into this process that they thought could work for them was working. And I didn't even know that they were having issues because they're not.
And it also goes to what we're talking about before that in the way in non-adversarial divorces, it's so concierge, it sounds like so, and it's so customized. We could do things that a court would never do. So we could get into the weeds in terms of what happens. This happens. How do we resolve it? If this happens, A, B, or C. So it's a very, very different kind of way of negotiating. It's a very different way of resolving in so many ways. And it's not for everyone. I just had a case where a woman came to see me and she said, I want to go to mediation with this mediator. And I said, and I always ask, tell me about your spouse. What is he or she like? What matters to him or her? What is the personality? How do you argue? How do you communicate? How do you make up? And all signs were leading towards this guy was a big bully.
Mm,
He was not a good guy, just really giving it to her. And she decided that she wanted to do mediation because he intimidated her.
right.
And I said, I will be involved if I could be a consulting attorney. And I went to the mediation, and you know what? It wasn't, mediation is not for everyone, where there's a power imbalance. I would say something to her, and then she would say to her husband, okay, that's fine, because she didn't feel that she could be in conflict with him because he was a bully. So it's really not for everyone, but it's for most people. Don't you agree?
Mediation is for many people, and and other people it's not.
Yeah.
I liken it to Goldilocks and the 3 bears, one process might be too late, mediation might be too late because you
Yes.
don't have that support, litigation is way too much. You do not need a judge to make those decisions. The collaborative or more negotiated agreement with a non-adversarial lawyer could be just right because you might need that support, that advocacy, but you want the partnership. You don't want somebody just telling you what to do, but helping to guide you. So it depends on who you are and where you are.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So
I agree.
so great minds think alike apparently. And
Yes.
I love that you're in Florida. I'm here in New York. We've never worked together, but we have such similar
So
outlooks. And we're not alone. There's so many people like this. There are so many attorneys like this all over. So if you're interested in working with somebody like Mara or myself, and to help you put that have the early stage of a divorce set you up for success, you can find someone. So reach out to either of us if we're not in
yes.
your state, 'cause we will help you find another lawyer. So as you know, I end every podcast with a better divorce tip from my guests. So I'd love to hear your better divorce tip, Mara.
So, my tip is there's a difference between reasonable and realistic expectations. And this really mostly goes to who your soon to be ex is in terms of what he or she does. So, it's reasonable to expect that your soon to be ex is going to act in a certain way in terms of how they relate to the kids or how they relate to you after going through a process. But knowing who this person is throughout the marriage and the reasons that you got divorced, is it realistic? And I think it's really important to really understand that, embrace that, because if you keep on going back to why is she not doing this? Why is he not doing that? You're only going to be disappointed and frustrated. So if you use realistic as a jumping point, you're looking forward, you're going to be in so much of a better place.
I that exactly like with that client I just mentioned, right? It would be reasonable to think somebody will get back to you within 48 hours when you tell them there's something important to make a decision about your child. Is it realistic that that person will do it when they were not in communication in a very productive way for 15 years of your marriage? So I love
Exactly.
that tip.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mara. It's been wonderful
It's
to
my
have you
pleasure.
here.
My pleasure knowing you and speaking to you and possibly collaborating with you in the future.
I
Yeah,
hope we get to do that.
me
So
too.
if you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe. It will help others who are seeking a better divorce to find us. This has been another episode of A Better Divorce Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. You've been tuning in to another episode of A Better Divorce Podcast with Andrea Vacca. Thank you for subscribing, leaving your positive comments and reviews, and sharing the show with others. You can watch episodes at vaccalaw.com, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And you can listen through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Bye for now, and remember, you can have a better divorce.